What's up, everybody? You're back with the Chosen Khan, and today in the studio we have with us Miss Pooja Patel.
Yep.
AKA the Pooja Project.
Yes, the Pooja Project.
All right. So, in the podcast we dove into a lot of things, a lot of different things, from being darker skinned and what's it called? Melanin.
Melanin.
I don't know much about it. I learned in the podcast about melanin.
So it gives you the pigment in your skin.
That's what melanin is.
Yes.
Got it. So if you have more melanin, you're darker.
Yes.
But if you're darker, you're not beautiful. We talked about that.
Yes.
What was that about? I know you went off on that. What was it? You're saying the beauty it's so unrealistic if you're Indian.
Yes, it's like the beauty myth, I like to call it, is that you got to be white, fair skinned, got Eurocentric features, whether it's small nose or I know a lot of Indian people always want that smaller nose, right?
My nose is pretty big.
But it's the myth that is what is beautiful, and it's impossible to be a person of color and have white skin. It's just contradictory. Like, how is that even going to happen? So does that mean that I'll never be able to be beautiful? Because if beauty is white and I could never be white, then people like myself and girls, and guys as well, they get caught in that cycle of thinking where it's like, I can't be this thing, but this thing is the ideal. So what do? That's when the insecurities set in, right?
That's spot on. It's like, what should I do? I can try and scrub off or bleach my skin. That's a big thing out there in India and Pakistan. People are like, I gotta be fair and lovely. I think
literally bleaching their skin, right? And a lot of these creams, just because it comes in a pink package doesn't mean it's gentle for your skin, right? Toxic chemicals, bleach, things that are not approved.
Yeah.
And you're putting that on your skin because
you're not comfortable in your own skin.
White is beautiful because you're not comfortable in your own skin.
Right? And then we also talked about how me and you went to the same elementary school.
Yes.
Okay, so me and Pooja went to Prince Charles, which was predominantly
Shout out
white.
Prince Charles.
Yeah, what were the Prince Charles Dragons or something? I can't remember.
I think it was Dragons.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was like, I don't really think about Prince Charles much, but we went there, and it was predominantly white, and you were talking about how me and you both actually had a similar situation where we're like, yo, I want to be white now because they're the cool kids. What was that like for you?
Well, like you said, predominantly white elementary school, all your peers are white. On top of that, everyone who's cool is white. Yeah. And when you're that age, all you want to be is cool. Like, you want to fit in and you want to be, hip and in with everything that's going on. And, I found in our elementary school, because everyone was white, the kids of color, they were ostracized and they were bullied, kind of pushed to the side. We could be cool within our own cliques. We can't be popular in that general sense. You got to be white to be popular. And that made me hate being a person of color. I really wanted to be white. And I rejected my culture completely, right?
That goes hand in hand with what we were saying earlier. And then we also talked about being a female, being a brown female. Your Instagram, if you check out Pooja's Instagram too, awesome Instagram. You were saying that you get a lot of brown dudes rolling up in your DMs.
Yeah.
And what do they say to you?
Just negative comments, right? Hurtful things, sexist comments, a lot of that. They send unsolicited pictures of themselves.
Okay, hold up, back up. So do you just open up your DM and it's just a photo of some dude butt ass naked?
Yes.
And you're like, what? So how do you...
And what's funny? They're not even like, oh, you're going to be impressed by the way I look, and they're not trying to woo me.
Yeah.
They're literally like, fuck you, suck this. And this has happened to me multiple times.
Damn.
And they send pictures like this, and it's just like, you got to have a certain level of resilience when you're putting yourself out there, obviously. But you get that kind of stuff where it's like, it is dark, and it's, unacceptable, right? And part of me wants to put them on blast and
But you're better than
showcase it. But I'm not going to be that person.
And please
right?
don't showcase. I don't want to see that.
No one wants to see it. It's unfortunate enough that I had to see it.
Yeah, you're taking one for the team.
Exactly. But it's funny, because more than being offended by that, it just makes me think about the way people are, or what made you think that was okay.
Yeah, and then you were saying that they always drop that one word slut. Yes. All the time.
In my comments or whatever, right? It's funny because it's not even about my clothes.
Yeah.
I could be doing anything, and there will still be a comment that says whore, slut, whatever it is, right? And And that's when I realized it wasn't about the amount of skin I'm showing or what I'm doing. It's this. It's not like slut literally has nothing to do with my sexuality or the clothes that I'm wearing, because even when I'm wearing a turtleneck, I still get slut comments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's clearly something else. And I soon realized that thing, it was the fact that it's not okay for a woman to be outspoken and unapologetic. So if I'm unapologetic in my turtleneck, people are still going to call me a slut. It's just these words that they use to put you down because they don't want you to be you, right? It has nothing to do with my sexuality, the number of partners I've had, what clothes I wear, how much skin I show. It has nothing to do with that. They just pick these words that they know are hurtful because they want to attack your character and they want to put you down.
They want you to stop.
They want you to stop being you.
Yeah. Actually, we had Harmon Kaur in the studio, and Harmon was saying something very similar. It's like, if I let them, like if I stop doing what I'm doing, they win.
They win, exactly.
And it's like if I'm acknowledging them and all that too, that's all they want. That's the thing. They're saying
they're
these
entertained by you even acknowledging them.
Yeah.
Which is, it brings up an interesting point that I've been thinking about recently, just with all the comments that I do get. It's the fight between, do I acknowledge them and give them that satisfaction or like entertainment that they want, because they obviously do it for your reaction, but or do you not, because you don't want to satisfy them in that way. Most of the time I opt for not acknowledging them and not letting it get to me, and they did it for my reaction, I'm not going to give it to them, right? But then there's a part of me where it's like, if the the comment or the topic is too close to my heart or too serious of a matter where it's like I cannot let that go, then I will acknowledge it. And because I want it to be known that I will not be walked on, that you can't step all over me just because I'm a woman of color, whatever you think it is that gives you the right to be superior to me or exercise your power over me. I want it to be known that that's not okay. So there's some comments where they're pushing the limits. You got to respond back. You don't, obviously no one wants to start an internet fight. Those are always,
No, actually, a lot of people love internet fights.
Like the trolls and stuff. Like, which ones are the trolls and which ones are like trying to harm you, right? And trolls want attention, which I don't give. And there's other people who say very offensive and hurtful things. And those people need to be, in a sense, put in their place, because they need to know that if when you don't acknowledge them, they think it's okay to do it again, and it's not okay for you to walk over me.
Attack another person.
It's not okay to attack another woman for what she's wearing or what she's doing, whatever it is, right? So those comments, definitely, you got to acknowledge that. Right?
It's interesting. In the podcast, we were talking about, basically, there's a quote I love: "The people that know the least about you are the ones that say the most."
Yes.
And that's something that I'm realizing, is that it's these people that have no idea. And then if you message them or if you met them in person, they'd be like the nicest. Oh my God, it's the Pooja project. Like, they're your best friends. They're just, I always say this, they're fans in denial.
Yes.
And you were telling me this earlier in the podcast that these people too, they'll write you like paragraphs and paragraphs. And it's like the fact that they took that time out, right? And the only reason they do that is because you took your space.
Yes.
We talked about space a lot in the podcast. And what space, it's basically like you're being you. And the world we live in right now, as a woman of color too, you're taught to be a certain way.
You're taught to limit your space. Take up as little space as possible. Fold your legs, cross your arms, physically sit in the littlest amount of space that you can. So for you to take up that space, it's like this act of defiance, right?
And a defiance against this big patriarchal system that's... It's not right. Even like I talked about on the podcast, just even from like a religious standpoint, it's like guys, we're hyper masculine, and then we think that that's a good, and that's why, and we're insecure, and we're like, that's why these women, like, if they talk back to me, it's attacking my hyper masculine, it's attacking me, and when you do it like that, at the end of the day, like, no one moves forward, and it's just so bad.
And you know what that is, like. For me, as much as I advocate for women's rights or feminist movements, and I want women and women of color especially to feel empowered, these stereotypes and these scripts and gender norms, they don't just negatively affect women. And that's what we forget. Toxic masculinity is a thing. When a man is not allowed to cry,
I'm always crying.
that is, causing some sort of like emotional damage in him, right? And all these things that we expect a man to be like, you gotta make more money than your wife or whatever, right? And you gotta provide for your entire family.
Yeah.
That is stressful. That's responsibility that, can be shared mutually, but no, because you're a man, you gotta be this way. So many men fall under, mental health problems, depression, anxiety, stress, because of toxic masculinity. So advocating against sexism or advocating for feminism, whatever it is that you want to call it, it's not just for women. It is about men too. It is just as much about men, right? It's just outwardly, it's easier to pinpoint like the ways that women have been harmed by the patriarchal system, and that's how people frame it, where it's always like patriarchy is against women, but patriarchy is not for men. It's not everyone. Protecting men. It's not everybody. Doing anything for men. It's screwing everyone over, right?
I agreed 100%. I think that's the best way to end this off too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, everybody, check out this podcast. I learned a lot, man. It's hot as hell in the studio right now.
It's so hot.
I'm telling you, I learned a lot. Like, we went deep into a bunch of different things, talking about Pooja's journey and like what's going on in the future and everything as well. Check out her stuff. I mean it. We're going to have all this stuff linked up, so up here as well. And I guess maybe just to end it off, what would be your one piece of advice?
Take up your space. I'm probably going to butcher this quote, but it's something like, no more than your place, no less than your space.
Oh, damn. I gotta get
don't quote me on that. It might be the other. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But it basically, to me, it means, take up your space, but know what your place is in this world. So do not speak over other people when it's not your place to. Do not take up more space than is what is yours. But do not also go into this world thinking you don't deserve space. Take up what is rightfully yours. Everyone in this world has a rightful amount of space, and you should be allowed to take up that space however you want. And you should never be limited in your space, but also never to step into another person's space,
and trying to be a savior, that savior mentality. Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're about to get out, man. It's hot. It's real hot in here. But again, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to the future with all of you. Peace. Luke, let's get the hell out of here. Thank you for watching our videos. Your support really means a lot to us. Check out our podcast, and honestly, check out the other conversations we've been having as well. You will not be disappointed.